Imagine your home. It is your sanctuary, the one place where you possess absolute control. You hold the key. You decide who enters, and you decide who leaves. But the most important house you own isn't built of brick and mortar. It is built of flesh, bone, and nerve. It is your body. Now, ask yourself a terrifying question. What happens when the locks to that house are changed from the inside? What happens when you command your hand to move, but it remains still? Or worse, it reaches out to hurt you? The deepest fear of humanity is not death. Death is simply an ending. Our deepest fear is to be alive, awake, but no longer in the driver's seat. Welcome to the Monster's Id. Today we are dissecting the anatomy of fear behind demonic possession. To understand this terror, we must look at the patient zero of modern horror, Regan MacNeil from William Friedkin's 1973 masterpiece, The Exorcist. When audiences fled theatres in the 70s, weeping and fainting, it wasn't just because they were afraid of the devil. It was because they were witnessing the ultimate violation. Regan begins as an innocent 12-year-old girl, but she becomes a battlefield. Friedkin didn't just make a religious film, he crafted a tragedy about the total loss of autonomy. We aren't just watching a monster, we are watching a human being become a prison to themselves. Let's place this on the examination table. Psychologically, the horror of possession mirrors a very real neurological condition known as somatoparaphrenia. This is a delusion where a patient denies ownership of their own limb, believing it belongs to someone else. When we see Regan's head spin 180 degrees or her body levitate off the bed, the fear triggered in our brains is not about magic. It is a primal fear of biological mutiny. Your body, your most loyal servant, has become your jailer. You are screaming on the inside, but your mouth is laughing. That is the definition of absolute helplessness. But the horror goes deeper than just movement. It attacks our sense of purity. We must look at the psychoanalyst Julia Kristeva and her concept of the abject. The abject refers to the human reaction to a threatened breakdown in meaning caused by the loss of the distinction between subject and object, or between self and other. It is the horror of the unclean, bodily fluids, decay, the grotesque. The entity in The Exorcist weaponizes this. It turns a pristine child into something repulsive, forcing us to confront the fragility of our own dignity. We are not just afraid of the demon, we are afraid of the pollution of the self. So, where is the escape? If our bodies can be invaded, is all hope lost? The film offers a solution, but it isn't a spell or a prayer, it is an act of will. In the climax, Father Karras invites the demon into his own body and then throws himself out the window. He dies, yes, but he dies as a free man. He reclaimed his agency. The anatomy of fear tells us that while we may lose control of our physical vessel, the self remains intact, as long as we possess the capacity for sacrifice. The demon can take the house, but it cannot take the owner, unless the owner surrenders. We have dissected what happens when a malicious force invades the mind from the outside. But what happens when the monster is not an invader, but a creation nurtured from within? What happens when society, trauma, and neglect build a demon inside a man's own subconscious? Next week, we are opening our files for a therapy session with a very different kind of patient, a man named Arthur Fleck. Subscribe and prepare for your next appointment.